Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, beautiful soul family, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights, your home for spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. I am your host, Dearjames, and together with the unseen, Spirit, Source, and Symphony, we look at the current energies, the intuitive wisdom and insights, and we go as guided. And action-packed show. There's a lot going on, as you all can sense, feel, and see in the world. And Mars is the main player. So we're going to have a lot of, this power of Mars. Mars has been retrograde in Cancer. It's been it'll have 3 times where it's opposite Pluto. A lot of transformation. So it's the main player. It's the main force for change. And we're going to jump into all of that. But let's quickly look at our main energies. And we're going to bridge the end of February into the beginning of March, because all of these energies are playing out. So we ended the month. Welcome, Elizabeth. Welcome, Kiki. We had the receptive. And we're going to be working with Hexagram 26, Controlled Power, Amplify. And this is about our individual power and how we amplify that. It's a 9-year, all year long. So we've got small restraints, surrender. At the end of February, we had approach, advance. And we're approaching this transformation, and it looks like everything's going in reverse, but that's not the case. It just means that the height of the height, remember that train and the cleaving to the sides and, over the abyss and everything. So we're approaching the new to advance. It becomes a 10, which was treading, cautious advance. We're moving forward with caution and awareness. And then it becomes the creative force. And Mars represents the creative force. It's also the divine masculine, but this is about the positive, the most pure positive aspects of that, of Mars energy, of the patriarch, the creative masculine energies. Well, now we come into March. March is about difficult beginnings. It's a 3, so it's difficult beginnings, persevere. So as we're advancing, as we're migrating and moving forward, it can be challenging. It's unknown territory. So we persevere. It's the 5th. We have nourished while waiting, patience. It means that we have everything we need at all times. It's ever present. Then again, small restraint, surrender. It's a 9-year. But it becomes a 17, which is following, show by example. So it's follow, be led, listen to your soul source connection, your internal, quote unquote, God positioning satellite, your GPS, so that you are showing by example. It's not ego, mind, personality, it's soul source connection. And then it becomes an 8, unite. And we've had that a lot last year. So this is what's happening, this integration of ourselves. So these are the main energies that we're working with. Mars is the power player, the force for change. I want to quickly run through the astrological charts, and there's 4 of them, and you'll see what's happening. And then we're going to go to Astrology by Lauren about Mars. So let's pick up this first astrological chart. It's when the sun entered Pisces on the 18th of February. And instantly what I heard from the unseen was, it's like a centralized megaphone. And when you look in the inner circle, you can see how there's like a megaphone on the top left, and it widens out with the blue lines at the bottom. And it was this, so the unseen, the all that is, it's this centralized megaphone, and they are screaming. It's like an air raid siren. I wrote about this on the Dearjames Facebook page. They're screaming at us to wake up. And they're yelling, "Danger, Will Roger, danger." Well, Roger, the etymology of Roger, the meaning of Roger, means famous spear, fame, renown, honor. It can also be spear or lance. And that instantly triggered for me the Spear of Destiny. And the Spear of Destiny, also known as the Holy Lance, is a legendary relic that is said to have pierced Jesus' side during his crucifixion. The Bible mentions the spear in the Gospel of John, but extra biblical texts like the Gospel of Nicodemus expand on the story. Many military leaders have claimed to have possessed the spear, including Charlemagne, Napoleon, and Adolf Hitler. There are multiple relics that claim to be the original spear, including one in Vienna and another in Rome. It is said that whosoever claims the spear of Longinus, and Longinus is the Roman centurion that pierced the side of Jesus. So it is said that whosoever claims the spear of Longinus and understands the occult powers, wisdom, occult means wisdom, the wisdom powers it serves, holds the destiny of the world in their hands. So we have from this sun entering Pisces. Pisces is the last astrological sign of the astrological year. It ends it with Pisces. It begins with Aries. So here, the unseen is just screaming at us with this megaphone. Wake up. And this Spear of Destiny is like, who possesses this wisdom, this occult wisdom? In essence, harnesses the power of destiny, of the unseen, of the world. Welcome, Olivia. So we move on then to the chart, the Neptune conjunct North Node. And this is happening. It was exact on the 23rd of February. Again, when you look in the center of the astrological wheel for that event, immediately what came to be was this tightening the screws, because there was 2 things, tightening the screws and Venus flytrap. The Venus flytrap is a carnivorous plant. It sits there, it's beautiful, its petals, everything's open, its mouth, if you will, is open, and it waits for insects, if you will, flies, insects, flying things, these types of things to come into its center, and then it quickly closes. White. So, carnivorous, meat eating, the tightening the screws. So this Neptune North Node is where humanity's going. Neptune represents highest ideals. It can also represent delusion. And the tightening of the screw, it was like, for any of you that may have, home renovations, things of this nature, or there's a screw that has flanges on it, and you drill a hole in the drywall and the plasterboard. The pieces, the clips are together, and you send it through. And then the minute it gets on the other side of the drywall, the plasterboard, the wings open up, and then you use the screw to tighten it, and it brings pressure. And so it's a force that allows things to stick, things to hold. You can hang things, this type of thing. Well, that analogy, Neptune conjunct the North Node. So this Venus flytrap and this kind of winged nut anchor, it's saying that Neptune conjunct the North Node, highest ideals, where humanity's going, it's going to stick. It's going to be firm. It's going to hold. And the Venus flytrap is like anything I'm getting that song, the man eater. It's like, it's just going to, because it's carnivorous, it's going to just snap out whatever gets in its way. Moving on, we go to the chart for the Mars Station Direct. So Mars Station Direct on the 24th of February. And this was the beginning. So this is the beginning of, because you're going to see with the astrological energies here, there's this theme about trash compactor. Let me just go there really quickly. So all of these astrological events, the Sun entering Pisces, Neptune conjunct the North Node, Mars direct in Cancer, there's the new moon in Pisces that occurred on the 28th of February, Venus went retrograde on the 2nd of March, and Mercury entered Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. And Mercury, how we think, speak, communicate, contracts, all of these things. So Mercury enters Aries. And then the unseen said trash compactor, and you'll see why in a second. So this Mars stationing direct is the beginning. It's the bookend. Let me put it that way. It's the bookend to when Mars went retrograde back on December 6th of 2024. And now come forward on the 23rd, 24th, depending on where you are in the world, it's now going direct in Cancer. That's very important, and you'll see why in a moment when we go there. So, and that was directly tied. We had the same astrological influence, the same theme of trash compactor. Back on the December 11th, 2024 show, Reflection, Who I Am Inside. Because we were being called to look at who we are. Are we being our true, authentic selves? Well, now when you come forward to the Pisces new moon, this is where the trash compactor, notice again in the center, the blue compressing the red. So the blues denote our harmonious aspects, trines and sextiles and so forth in astrology, and the reds can denote squares, challenging, confrontational aspects. And notice all of the planets lining up at the bottom of the wheel. You literally have the new moon, so the moon and the sun are together, that denotes a new moon. They are in Pisces. The IC and Saturn in Pisces. Mercury in Pisces at that time. North Node in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces. And then you have Vertex, Venus, and Chiron in Aries. So all of this is getting ready to end. Pisces is the end. Aries is the beginning. And there's this aspect of this trash compacting, this reflection, who I am inside. Who are we authentically inside? And we're being presented with a choice. This whole journey, all of these weekly wisdom and insights from the very beginning in November of 2021, all the way through, has been this journey of preparation, awareness, choice, making the right choices, being on the right side of history. Who are we at our center? And aligning with that. Because our main theme is beyond the world we see, deliverance. And this beautiful image of the sky and the sea and the horizon line, where it looks like it just goes on forever. So it's about beyond the world we see, deliverance. And deliverance is our key word. And so we're going to go to that deliverance. A formal or authoritative utterance or pronouncement. The action of being saved, rescued, or set free. Rescue from the evil of the age, from the dominion of sin. Salvation, liberation, a rescue from bondage or danger. Release from captivity. Slavery, oppression, or any restraint. So we have this huge word, deliverance. And hopefully this is, you're not froze on your end. Olivia's just mentioning it may be frozen, but it's live on my end, so we're going to continue. So this beyond the world we see, deliverance, and how we are being delivered from, rescued, set free from the evil of the age. We're dealing with all of this karmic goo from the past 2,000 plus years. And we're seeing the height of it. The very height of it is occurring right now. It looks like we're going backwards. But this is number 6 from the unseen. This Pisces to Aquarius, patriarchal to matriarchal. And the unseen said, the attempt to rewind time, futile. And then, so what we have is this beautiful quote. And so what's taking place is this attempt to rewind time. And the unseen is saying it's futile. It's not going to happen. This cleaving to the past. And all of the goo, all of the worst of it, a patriarchal Piscean era, because there's much. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But when we're trying to cleave to something, because there are those that are so fearful of the unknown, the new, what's before us, the matriarchal era, the Aquarian era, the era of equality and harmony and goodness and kindness and respect. They cleave. But what they're doing, what they've done, is this beautiful quote. It's by Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve. See, they're this screaming megaphone, this wake up. I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve. See, this terrible resolve is about moving forward, this resolve to move forward, this Aquarian, matriarchal, harmony, equality, and it's number 3 from the unseen. They said, never before truly realized. The ideal becomes the new reality. See, what these powers that be, this, the shadowness of this previous era, they're wanting to keep humanity from achieving, euphoria, the ideal. But that's not going to happen. They're not going to prevent it. They're not going to stop it. So never before truly realized, the ideal becomes the new reality. The word realized, it means become fully aware as a fact and understanding clearly. So we've never before truly realized the ideal. Color to technicolor. This awakened sense of who we are. What's at our center? What's at our center is our divine nature, our divine essence, our soul. This become fully aware as a fact. Understand clearly. So we're going to understand this. We're going to realize it. The ideal becomes the new reality. So they can't prevent it, but what they've done is awaken it. They are awakening it in across the globe, because they're seeing, we're all witnessing the shadow, the worst of it, of the prior era, the end of the Piscean patriarchal era. We will, and Mars, creative energy, divine masculine, the highest purity of it. Mars is the main player, the force for change. Why? Well, let's go to Astrology by Lauren. And I love this. And this was from her February 14th to the 21st posting. Patience. Something is stirring. And she opened with a quote from Elizabeth Warren. Choose to fight only righteous fights, because then when things get tough, and they will, you will know that there is only one option ahead of you. Nevertheless, you must persist. This nourished while waiting patience that we have everything, but persist we must. Mars in Cancer is not normally a fighting Mars, but when you harm their own, when you attack the defenseless, when you marginalize the vulnerable, Mars in Cancer can be a force to be reckoned with. This is the mama bear who lifts the car off the child, the peasants who defend their turf with bottles and cans, the brave warrior who stands in the line of fire to protect those in their care. Do not underestimate Mars in Cancer. So Kiki is saying, all I see now is the bad guys winning, but I'm clinging to faith. Not only cling to it, Kiki, embrace faith. Harness the power of faith. Because this is Mars in Cancer. This is the mama bear. This is, and of course we have to see, quote unquote, the adversary. We have to see the goo, the darkness. It has to come up into the light so that it can be faced, dealt with, transmuted. But this is Mars in Cancer. It's the mama bear. It's the peasants that defend their turf. It's the brave warrior. It is that which protects those in their care. Love thy neighbor as thyself, thy God above all other. It's not to underestimate Mars in Cancer. And at the end of April, I believe it's the 25th of April, it'll be the third and final Mars-Pluto opposition. Pluto's in Aquarius. Mars, I believe, will still be in Cancer at that point, and then or just in the early stages of Leo, but I believe it's at the end of Cancer, and before it goes into Leo in an exalted state. So this is about this window, this 90-day window between now and kind of mid-May. It's going to be quite the ride. However, do not underestimate Mars in Cancer. Lauren continues, Mars has slowed for its direct station, so it was slowing at 17 degrees of Cancer. And as it does so, it makes a trine. A trine is a harmonious aspect to Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is the great teacher, Father Time. It may still be out of bounds, meaning Mars may still be out of bounds, pushing against limits, but the limits themselves are gently pushing back. Mars left to its own devices can be dangerous. We need the things of Mars: fire, energy, heat, motivation, movement, and passion. However, too much fire can destroy, and too much passion can consume our senses. But when you take that same energy and you channel it in a constructive way, much like the insulation around a wire guides the energy of a selective purpose, for a selective purpose, so we too can use Saturn to channel our energy and our passions in useful ways. See, this is about harnessing our internal passions and energies. This is about refining raw power to refined power. It's not running amok. That's contributing to the shadow aspect of Mars. But when we harness that power, the creative force, the divine masculine, the purity of it, the force of it, and we channel it for good, we harness it in a way that's responsible, not reactive. This is the Mars-Saturn aspect, this trine. Like swimming upstream with your last ounce of energy, Saturn reminds us that there is only one way forward, and that is to persist. We don't give up the fight when Mars is trine Saturn. We don't throw our hands up in frustration. We persist. And I just want to bring in really quickly Chani Nichols, the weekly number 56, because this again about Mars and Mercury entering Aries. And she said, ditch your indoor voice. This week, Mercury roars into Aries, leaving niceties in its wake. Cut to the chase and use the communication tools available to you to cause good trouble. See, it's about harnessing the power with the wire insulation, the Mars Saturn trine. Harness this energy in a good way, good trouble. Dial your representatives. Advocate for yourself on the job. Celebrate Women's History Month by reading up on history's revolutionary femmes. This is a loaded month astrologically, and courageous thinkers will help you navigate it more easily. When you lean into the productive heart of conflict rather than resisting it, you tap into your ability to create change. If you find yourself sprinkling on too much spice, too much heat, too much fire, however, take responsibility and dial down the heat. A spoonful of sugar is sometimes all you need to help the all caps text messages to go down. So there's this message between astrologer Chani Nicholas and then Astrology by Lauren, which I'm going to go back to. There's this point about harnessing our innate power. It's the Aquarian age. We the people around the globe hold the power. Those that are in the corporations, the institutions, the governments, they're all people placed there by other people. The power comes from the people. So harness your power and utilize it in a responsible, constructive way, but yet one could say in an assertive, not aggressive, assertive. You stand up for yourselves. We speak our truth. We do so responsibly, but you'll also see with hexagram 26, we don't have to go running around shouting about our power. Just exude it. Be it. So Astrology by Lauren, she continues. Retrograde and out of bounds Mars feels both stagnant and reckless at the same time. Like swimming upstream with your last ounce of energy, Saturn reminds us that there is only one way forward. We got to persist. Due to its station, Mars will continue to trine Saturn through the middle of April. See, this is the next 90 days we're getting into, at which time Mars will approach the last of its oppositions to Pluto. This is the stuff that requires courage and fortitude, the stuff that requires staunch determination, because we are not going back. We're going forward. And for those that are willing or wanting, quote unquote, to go back or freeze time, or one must really ask themselves, why? What are you so afraid of? Because all our lives, life moves forward. We may have melancholy or nostalgia or something for a time, but yet the great joy of life, the great mystery of life is moving forward. What's beyond where beyond the world we see? Deliverance. What's beyond where we've been? So the stuff that requires staunch determination, this is not about losing our way. This is about staying the course. This apparent lull in the Mars cycle is not about reversal anymore. It's no longer retrograde, so much as reorientation. It's the ready, set, before we go. And that before we go, Mars re-entering Leo. So we got this time period where Mars is still in Cancer, cleaning up business, handling business, the mama bear. Use the Mars-Saturn trine, this harmonious aspect, for anything that requires patience, planning, discipline, and persistence. And that is true even if your heart isn't particularly in it. Set goals for yourself, both long-term and short-term. And just through sheer determination, you will make progress, even if it doesn't feel like it is happening at the time. Before you know it, you will make it through to the other side, one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. So this is about, again, one cautious advance, treading, cautious advance. It's about taking the steps. It's the lantern. It is the hermit and the star. And remember, we had this beautiful, the hermit with the star. The light in the lantern of the hermit is the star card, which represents Aquarius. And so it illuminates our next steps. That's what we want to do. So take it step by step, piece by piece, and move accordingly. On February 14th, Mercury dives into the diluvian depths of Pisces, followed by now Mercury's in Aries. So we're catching up again, end of February into March. It's followed by the sun on February 18th, so we enter Pisces season. With 4 planets plus the North Node in the sign of Pisces, and you saw all those planets piled up in Pisces, we are being asked to have faith, even in the face of uncertainty, to have hope even when all else appears otherwise. To Kiki's point, this is about having faith, to have hope and faith, even when all else appears otherwise. Soon, Neptune and then Saturn will enter Aries. But before they do, they are moving through the liminal void found at the very end of Pisces. It's that anaretic degree, the 29th degree, that end, because remember, Pisces ends the astrological year. So it's ending this era, this season. Aries begins it. Contained within the end is the beginning, and contained in the beginning is the end. Whenever the slow-moving planets, like Neptune, enter Aries, it can almost feel like a revival or even a rebirth. But from where we are standing with Neptune in the last few degrees of its 160-year-long journey through the whole zodiac, it's 160 years to go all the way around the 12 signs of the zodiac. There is a sloughing off. This was snake medicine. A sloughing off, a sadness, a feeling of weariness, dissatisfaction, boredom, and perhaps even some deep despair. We stand on the threshold of a new order. Something that could even feel like a spiritual rebirth. We just have no idea what that is going to look like. We cannot yet see it. So as we stand here with Neptune in the last degrees of the last sign of the zodiac, we are all being asked to take this leap of faith as we progress out into the unknown. Because the whole point of life is about journeying forward. It's not staying stagnant. It's not the Stepford Wives and, everything's just repeating on itself. Where's the joy in that? It would become so horridly repetitive and stagnant. The joy is in the unknown. It is in being comfortable with change. It is about rising up to meet our soul. Our soul already planned everything. It's just our ego, mind, personality, our human, rising up to meet it, to join it, to say yes. It's far too easy to say no. So say yes to life. Say yes to what's on the other side. Say yes to the adventure. Lauren continues, never are we more intuitive than when we immerse ourselves in the sign of Pisces, a sign of vast potential. Never can we feel more, see more, touch more hearts than through the sign of divine compassion. We may stand here waiting for the other shoe to fall into the apparent chaos of the abyss that is opening before us, but know that much of what we are seeing is confounded by so much smoke and mirrors. Neptune conjunct the North Node. It's both delusion, illusion, but it's also the highest octave, the highest ideal. North Node, where humanity's going. So it can be this apparent chaos and abyss, but it's also because it's confounded by so much smoke and mirrors. But ultimately, it's moving forward. And that is that beauty of where we're going. And don't forget, we had the swords, the King of Swords, the Ace of Swords, the Queen of Swords. The swords in the tarot deck bring clarity. It's piercing the illusions, piercing the delusions. This is waking up the sleeping giant. This is the megaphone screaming at all of us to wake up. We're being afforded clarity. Are you listening? Or are you burying your head in the sands? Are you letting fear, shadow elements, and aspects pull you backwards? Are you getting sucked into the chaos, into the illusion, into the abyss, into the smoke and mirrors? Or are you harnessing your divine essence and your inner grace, your soul source connection, and going, we got this, determination, perseverance, going that way, moving forward. This is what's at play here. And finally, Lauren concludes, as a preview, it might be helpful to remember that we are standing on the threshold of an awakening. Much of what we have been experiencing up until now is tainted with destruction, because again, remember the shadow, the goo, the corrupted bits and pieces. It's like malware and adware and all that stuff on a computer. All of that has to come up, has to be discovered, has to come up into the light so that it can be removed, transcended, transmuted. So we're on this threshold of awakening, and our experience up until now is tainted with destruction. But as all the planets are changing signs this year, they are all going to be in approximately the same degrees of their signs. And as a result, they will be speaking to each other in uncommon ways. Pluto in the early degrees of Aquarius will be sextile, that's a harmonious aspect, to Saturn and Neptune as they enter Aries. And as Uranus enters Gemini, it will be trine and sextiles, harmonious aspects. It will trine Pluto, and then sextile Saturn and Jupiter. This is incredibly creative energy. And it's number 4. I just want to go from the unseen. They said pause, patience, creation. Pisces to Aries. This March to mid-May, but it's also playing out throughout the year. And then I heard May Day. May Day is May 1st. I'm just bringing up this image. So May Day, 5-1, and then the Maypole. And May Day and the Maypole, it's a celebration. It's about unity. And the word creation. So pause, patience, creation. And look at this beautiful park scene with the maypole in the center and all the multicolored ribbons. And children typically have these streamers that are originally attached to a tree, now a pole. And they go in a circle and they weave. They go under each other in a circle, in and out, to where it braids these multicolored ribbons into a basket weave around the pole. Well, pause, patience, creation. So this May Day, this 5-1. So there's an aspect about, because this is number 4, it's foundational. So from the unseen, they're saying, like come May 1st, in essence, somewhere in this neighborhood, there's celebration, unity. There's an exhale. It's like we're exhaling. Creation. The action or process of bringing something into existence. And the maypole also has been viewed as the axis mundi, meaning the center, the world center, the world axis, or the world tree. So there's an action or process of bringing something into existence. One could say that by this time, because they said to us, Proud Mary, we're going to start off rough and finish easy. There's something in this window of time, this next 90 days, that pause, patience, creation, that's going to change. It's going to literally change everything. Beyond the world we see, deliverance. And the first thing from the unseen before I finish with Lauren, Astrology by Lauren, the breath of life breathes anew again. The breath of life is the Holy Spirit. And so the Bible mentions, quote, the breath of life in many places, including Genesis, John, and Job. The verses illustrate that God gives life to humans and animals, and that every breath is a gift from God. There's also this aspect about it being equated that that in essence it's Pentecost, it's the illumination. We're illumined, we're awakened in a way that we haven't before. And it ties into the second thing from the unseen. Beyond this point lies freedom, deliverance, democracy, the Aquarian age and era. And democracy means government by the people. Well, think of government in an expanded way, not so much by governance from within a country, a typical way we would explain it, but government by the people, this freedom, deliverance, and democracy. What about soul source government by the people? Divine governance by the people. This awakening, this illumination. So the breath of life breathes anew again. It means the Holy Spirit is going to breathe new life. There's an awakening. There's a transformation. There's an illumination. It's about, the spear is about, the spear of destiny is about occult wisdom, or sorry, occult knowledge, wisdom. So this here, they're saying the breath of life breathes anew, again, the Holy Spirit. Beyond this point lies freedom, deliverance, democracy, the Aquarian Age era, government by the people. It's innate within us. This is true right now. You hear over and over and over again, we the people, or the people hold the power, and so forth. The ideal becomes the new reality. This awakening of the giant, the sleeping giant. People are waking up. People are fed up with upper echelons, or the shadow of, because it's not all governments or institutions or leaders or peoples. It's the shadow aspects. It's where they're drunk with power. They are being aggressive with power. They are harnessing the shadow aspects of Mars instead of the purity of Mars. The shadow of the divine masculine instead of the purity of the divine masculine. But it is the purity of the divine masculine that's the force for change, because it's the creative force. The matriarchal, the divine feminine, is the knowing. It's the waking up. It's what's at our center. Ah, yes, we the people. Ah, yes, I hold the innate power for myself within. It's not outside of me. It's not something being granted by someone else. It's my soul source connection. And when I align with it, and when I then harness the power of the purity of the divine masculine within me, the Mars aspect, that creative force, in concert with, in service to my soul, game changer, different world, different experience. But this is what they're afraid of. Look how omnipotent, omniscient, everything that is. But there are those cleaving to the past that want us to remain dimmed, dumb, enslaved. And again, it's our key word, deliverance. Deliverance is about rescue from the evil of the age, from the dominion of sin. It's salvation, liberation, a rescue from bondage or danger, a release from captivity, slavery, oppression, or any restraint. That's what's on the other side. And they're terrified. Heaven forbid the people would be awakened, illumined. The breath of life breathes anew again. The Holy Spirit, Pentecost, illumines, awakens them with occult wisdom. Wisdom from the unseen. It expands their awareness, their consciousness. And those gathered at Pentecost went out, because they were illumined, they went out and, if you will, proselytized, spoke the word of a higher octave, of the divine. It raised them up. Eclipse season. So let me finish up with Astrology by Lauren. So they're in the final degrees, and Pluto in the early degrees of Aquarius will be sextile Saturn and Neptune as they enter Aries. And as Uranus enters Gemini, it will trine Pluto and sextile Saturn and Neptune. This is incredibly creative energy, which can open all sorts of innovative ideas and lay the groundwork for invention and technological breakthroughs. See, it's creativity, creation. You're going to see this in the 3 Sabian symbols. Creation, mastery. These two can change the world in ways that we might not even be able to fathom, because what's before us is we haven't experienced it yet. So it's going to awaken us. These can also be used to adapt to change. All of these sextiles and trines and everything with the major planets changing. These can all be used to adapt to change in the best possible ways, which may require us to update our goals and strategies for the future. See, the old isn't going to work anymore. It's a new era. It's a new operating system. It's a new way of being. And so it may require us to update our goals and our strategies for the present future. The alignment of these outer planets also asks us to bring our personal goals and strategies more in alignment with our ideals. Neptune, highest ideals, North Node, conjunct the North Node, especially where it can benefit a higher purpose, a cause, or the greater good of humanity as a whole. And so, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. advised us back in the days of the early civil rights movements, quote, "To commit yourself to the noble struggle for human rights, you will make a greater person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in." He also said, quote, "Through our scientific and technological genius, we've made of this world a neighborhood. And now through our moral and ethical commitment, we must make of it a brotherhood." I would say a brotherhood, a sisterhood. "We must all learn to live together as brothers, sisters, or we will all perish together as fools." It's as applicable, if not more, in this moment, some 60 years later, that we must all learn to live together, or we will certainly all perish together as fools. It's eclipse season. It's number 5 from the unseen, and number 5 denotes change. So they said eclipse season ahead. Buckle up, buttercups. So it's eclipse season on the 13th, 14th of this month, this next, I think, Thursday, Friday. It's a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. 2 weeks later, on the 29th of March, it's followed by a new moon partial solar eclipse in Aries. And it's the last in the Aries-Libra axis. The nodes have changed signs. We talked about that. So now this is the first eclipse that will be in Virgo, because the new axis is Virgo Pisces, Pisces Virgo. The previous one was Aries Libra. So this begins the first one in the new axis and completes the last one, the final one of the previous axis. So the unseen is saying to us, okay, it's number 5. It's going to denote change. Eclipse season ahead. Buckle up, buttercups. So, but there's nothing to fear. You know, it's John Kennedy. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. So it's about change. It's about embracing change and recognizing that there is new opportunity, creation, new life, new breath. Beyond this point lies freedom, deliverance, democracy. This government by the people, governance, self-governance. It's always been the truth in most countries where quote unquote democracy exists. That is a truism. The point here is we're going beyond the limitations, and that's deliverance, moving beyond the limitations. The unseen is expanding the word democracy, the definition of democracy, government by the people, governance, to a higher octave, to a higher power, to a higher source. And how when we learn to live together, we won't perish as fools, we'll thrive, we'll take quantum leaps forward. There's all of this amazing newness on offer. I want to go to the Sabian symbols for the Pisces new moon that occurred on the 28th of February. This is from Dane Rudyer's An Astrological Mandala. So for the sun and the moon, and we showed it, just going to bring that back up again really quickly. The chart, you see the sun and the moon together at 9 degrees in Pisces. So this Sabian symbol says, an aviator pursues his journey flying through ground obscuring clouds. Ground obscuring clouds, Neptune, illusion, delusion. But there's a higher ideal. They're flying, so there's a higher octave here. The keynote, man's ability to develop powers and skills which by transcending natural limitations allow them to operate in mental, spiritual realms. So again, deliverance is breaking through. It's removing the limitations. This symbol, in a sense, synthesizes, brings together the implications of the 4 preceding ones. The dedication to the community of man, present and future, self-assertion, and the ambition to reach a social goal, the future. What's before us? Man is seen mastering difficulties implied in a type of operation transcending their organic limitations and the narrow boundaries of a localized, quote, living space. See, we're moving beyond the constructs of the previous era, of the previous mindset. So we're moving beyond these localized living space boundaries and limitations. They do so as an individual in command of powerful energies. It's that harnessing raw power to refined power. It's harnessing the soul source connection, the unseen, on our behalf. So they do so as an individual in command of powerful energies, but also as heir to the industry of countless innovators and managers. We stand on the shoulders of giants. We stand on the shoulders of everyone that came before us for this moment. So everyone, just imagine everyone in our known history. It's staggering, and we're the heirs to the industry of countless innovators and managers. These truth seekers, these wisdom seekers. This is the last symbol of evolving stages of consciousness and human activity. It's Pisces. It evokes the achievement of mastery. So there's a theme here about mastery. The IC, the interim coli, a master instructing his disciple. The keynote, the transfer of power and knowledge, which keeps the original spiritual and creative impulse of the cycle active and undeviated. Spiritual and creative, the breath of life, the Holy Spirit. So it's the transfer of power and knowledge which keeps. So here's the breath of life breathes anew again, the Holy Spirit, Pentecost, the illumination. It's being transferred to us. The Hindu ideal of the sacred relationship between guru and chela, disciple, has of late become familiar to a vast number of young and not so young people. Now remember, these Sabian symbols were written almost 100 years ago. The doctrine of the apostolic succession in the Roman Catholic Church has a similar significance. The power and the archetypal knowledge released, quote, in the beginning of any cycle or at creation. They're talking about pause, patience, creation. The action or process of bringing something into existence. Mayday. So the power and archetypal knowledge released in the beginning of any cycle or at creation must be perpetuated until the very last day. This is about perseverance. This is about until the end of the end of the end. The power and the knowledge that's being released to us in cycles, in creation, in evolution, must be perpetuated until the very last day. The omega state of which Teilhard de Chardin glowingly speaks. This power is the self of the cyclic manifestation, the unchanging tone of Om, of all existences within this cycle. It's source. This is what we're speaking of, source, the all that is. It can be transmitted from master to disciple at the latter's initiation. They always say when the student is ready, the master appears or the teacher appears. It must be so transmitted, for when the line of transmission, in Sanskrit, Guru Ampara, is discontinued, the cyclic process begins to collapse in futility and spiritual darkness. So we must persevere. We don't want to end, collapse in fools or end in spiritual darkness. We want to see what's on the other side. We want to know. This is a fourth stage symbol. It means it's foundational. This symbol gives us a clue to the supreme technique necessary for the continuation of all manifestations of power and spiritual understanding. The transmission is from person to person. It follows a general, unchanging pattern, yet it operates in terms of particular individual circumstances. Means, as we're ready, where are we on the ascension ladder or the ascension escalator? And the key word is investiture. It means we're being imbued with it, invested. It's being awakened within us. The breath of life breathes anew again. And last but not least, Mercury, the symbol for Mercury. A religious organization succeeds in overcoming the corrupting influence of perverted practices and materialized ideals. That speaks to literally what the patriarchal Piscean corrupted aspect of the divine masculine is cleaving to. It's about overcoming. So they succeed. A religious organization succeeds. The people succeed in overcoming the corrupting influence of perceived practices and materialized ideals. That's ego, mind, personality. That's shadow. That's dark, icky goo. But it's overcome. The keynote, the power of the soul to intervene in the personal life and to induce necessary catharsis. Catharsis is change. The necessary centralization of the conscious attention and will, symbolized by the preceding picture, most often bring negative results. Exclusivism, pride, jealousy, greed, greed for power and wealth. Every man, every human, is a church that has the soul as its God, its center. But most forget the soul and live according to dogmatic rules and habits, which not only have become empty of inner meaning, but very often have been perverted by the demands of the senses and the emotional nature, and by the ego with its rationalizing intellect. Because the ego, mind, personality, it will beg, barter, steal, negotiate, procrastinate. It will rationalize. The soul, never. Soul is true north. It is pure. So every person is a church with their soul as its God, as its source. A purging or catharsis is needed to restore not only fresh and creative spontaneity, but even more the contact with the soul and the God-ordained Dharma. So we are leaving the Piscean, patriarchal, divine masculine era, and it's where the corruption of it has come to the fore. And we're seeing this on the world stage. I mean, it is brutal, it is loud, it is in your face. This aspect where it's been perverted by the demands of the senses, the emotional nature, the rationalizing intellect, and a purging or catharsis, deep change is required to restore fresh creative spontaneity. This stage leads significantly to the series of 5 symbols, which concludes the vast cycle. Because the final consummation of the process of actualization of the potency inherent in the original creative act requires moments of crisis and purification. That's very wordy to say. This symbol leads, so it's Mercury. It's how we think, act, speak, talk, communicate, electronics, film, things that are that celluloid, film. So because this process, this final consummation, this process of being, actualization of being and its potency, it requires, it's a creative act. And they're saying to us, pause, patience, creation. There's something that's going to be coming into existence. In order to do so, it requires moments of crisis and purification. We're in a moment of crisis, chaos, the abyss, the height of the goo. So that it requires this moment of crisis and purification, the transmuting of that. Powerful symbols. I just want to go to hexagram 40 is deliverance. Its action is untangle. And it's our second quote by Sir Edwin Arnold. Within yourself, deliverance must be searched for, because each man makes his or her own prison. See, it's self-imposed. Everything occurs from within. It's what we think. It's our thoughts, our actions, our deeds. And so it's to be mindful of that. Within yourself, deliverance must be searched for, because each man or woman makes their own prison. So, deliverance, untangle. Thunder over the abysmal water shows a sudden storm meant to release tension. This type of natural phenomena occurs or happens when the leaves need to be removed from the trees during autumn, and again when the protective husks sheltering spring's rebirth are also removed. In either case, and this is from Carrie Hone at cafeosoul.com, in either case something is being loosened so that rebirth is liberated. The limitations are being removed. Whatever is blocking your ability to move effortlessly and joyfully through the world of events will be no match for the situations that unfold to help you let go. The hidden influence of after completion also underscores a need for renewal. So that what's at the end is the beginning, at the beginning is the end. So this after completion underscores a need for renewal. The underlying cause of family suggested a time of nurturing and protection. Defensive ideas meant to protect, anger, or a lifestyle of hiding will be brought out into the open so that you can find deliverance from yourself. And see, this is all the anger and the chaos and the oppression and suppression and all that. It's a smokescreen. It's an illusion that demonstrates one's own fear, one's own lack, one's own insecurities. Hurt people hurt people. It's that, but this is about, it's going to be brought out. So this defensive idea is meant to protect anger or a lifestyle of hiding will be brought out into the open so that you can find deliverance from yourself. It's about releasing the old, releasing the shadow, so that what's at your center, reflection, who am I inside, comes to the fore. Forgiveness is not something we offer others, but something which leads to our freedom. The upper trigram of arousing hits like a thunderbolt out of the blue to lead us from the abysmal danger. So as much as this looks like the opposite, this crisis and moment, it's leading us, the abysmal, it's leading us from danger, out of danger. Whatever is transpiring will bring renewal and calm to the inner landscape. It is important that you return to a place of calm and renewal. Deliverance releases tension and stress and is a time of letting go so that you don't drown in your own quagmire of negativity. See, it's its own undoing. The weight of all of this that's being expressed right now on the world stage, the negativity and the hostility and just all this goo, it will collapse of its own weight, of its own accord. And so here again, that megaphone being shouted, wake up, because the deliverance releases tension and stress and is a time of letting go so you don't drown in your own quagmire of negativity. Last but not least is hexagram 26, which is controlled power, amplify. And there's a beauty of this. We've had this quote before. It's we are told not to cross the bridge until we come to it. But this world is formed by those who crossed bridges in their imaginations far ahead of the crowd. It's an anonymous quote. Well, we stand on the shoulders of giants, of everyone that came before us. And this massive awakening. And the attempt to rewind time is futile. So we are being awakened. Hexagram 26. True power need not be demonstrated as creative energy is restrained beneath the mountain of keeping still. See, true power, innate power, we the people, power, soul source connection, power, it's innate. It need not be demonstrated, corrupted. It just is. Ta Chu, which is controlled power, focuses on the power of silence and stillness. While others are running around demonstrating their power, one who is strong has no need to prove anything. Controlled power has propriety as its hidden influence, because a will under the sheer steadiness of a mountain allows it to become incredibly powerful. It's a silent force. It's the purity of Mars. It's the purity of the creative force. It's the purity of the divine masculine. In alignment, in service to soul, higher octave. And it's incredibly powerful. There is also a need for timing and appropriate expression. Another's insecurity is no match for the power of silence. Since controlled power follows innocence, all that is learned from patience and non-action is now ready to be harnessed creatively. I keep saying this word, creation, creative, creatively. When the will is in the service of acceptance and the good of all, this deliberate intent is unstoppable. See, when the creative divine masculine, when that creative force and the divine masculine force, the ego, mind, personality, the human, is in service of acceptance and the good of all, this deliberate intent is unstoppable. The message we deliver is amplified because our inner truth radiates as the embodiment of Tao. It radiates at a higher octave. It's our light. It just resonates out. You can walk into a room and somebody will say, "Whoa, look at that person's aura or their stature, their energy, their force." And they haven't said a word. They just walked into a room. This is you. This is us. This is now. It's not all that illusion and, smoke and mirrors. That's false. It's fake. It's masking insecurities, lack. It's all shadow. But this is unstoppable. The message we deliver is amplified because our inner truth radiates. Combining holding firm, holding steady, holding to heaven's way, the way, and nurturing others. This is the hexagram of the true sage. When water meets a dam, it continues to rise in power until it overwhelms whatever blocked its flow. There are far more of us moving forward, aligning, awakening, reclaiming our innate power, aligning with source. Then there are those that represent the dam. So this continues to rise in power until it overwhelms what blocked its flow. When you renew your willingness to marry to your Tao daily, to marry to the way, your soul source connection, your intuition, your instinct, your gut, you become a reservoir for enormous creative expression that benefits all. By default, it benefits us individually. But when we do this, it's an enormous reservoir of creative expression that benefits all. That benefiting all, being in service, aligning with your true service, that's Aquarian age. That's divine feminine. That's matriarchal. And by extension, we individually receive. But it's enormous creative expression that benefits all. You can draw on a power that need not be demonstrated, but is just so. Its simplicity makes everything easy. And when you're just in the flow, it's like it's all green lights. Everything, when you're aligned, when you're in the flow, when you're in the moment, when you're in this enormous creative expression and empowerment, it's simple, it's easy, it's effortless. And the beauty is that it benefits all. It is the exact inverse of where we've been the last 2,000 plus years. Ego, mind, personality, Piscean, patriarchal, divine masculine. It's the ego, me, me first. Doesn't matter if it's benefiting or harming or whatever, me. The exact opposite of that, the inverse of that is what I do, it always has. What we do matters, but it's an inverse. It's, when I align with my soul source connection, and that leads my human, my ego, mind, personality, it benefits everyone. There is do no harm, right? It's love thy neighbor as thyself, thy God above all other. It's simple stuff. This is the new age. And again, because we're the custodians of the soul's journey, the soul's experience, by extension, in reciprocity, we receive the joys, the experience, the aha moments, the magic, the awe, the wonder. So in this moment, we're going to conclude with, and this is a lot. This is a big show. We're making up for 2 weeks of absence here. And the world doesn't stop. It continues. So we're putting a lot into this one show. The moral of the story is this: Mars is the main player, is the force for change. Mars in Cancer, it's the mama bear. It is the people, the individuals that rise up in unity, that we become the world we wish to see, and that by overwhelming the dam, we move forward. Because there is nothing, think about water, when the force of that water, no dam, it just goes. Dams have to release water. They can't hold it back. The force and the intensity of that would actually just cause the dam to crumble. So there are releases, there are levers. These are man-made constructs. Well, imagine what Source can do. That's where we are. So we conclude with this beautiful, I just want to leave you with the main image again. Beyond the world we see, deliverance. And Mars is going to be the power player. Mars is the main character, the main force for change. And these next 90 days are going to be quite interesting to see what happens between now and March, April, May. So, come June or somewhere May 1st, May 15th, somewhere in this neighborhood. Woo! Big smiles. Huge, big smiles. I love you all. I have missed you all. I am so happy to be back with all of you. Wonderful to see you, Elizabeth. And just know we walk this journey together. So I am so honored and privileged to be with all of you. And until then, I will see you next week, because March, woo, it's an action-packed month. It is going to be a transformative month. So be well and kind with each other, with yourselves, and I will see you all next week.